what a start we had yesterday, and it continues apace here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Spectacular conditions, bright sunshine, a breezy old day though, and a tailwind pushing these cars down towards turn one is going to make something very, very interesting. Speaking of breezy pit lanes and grids, we can get there now. Here's Greg Rust and Isabella Lemberger.
Krause, thank you very much. So many fantastic stories out of Monochrome Australia GT4 yesterday. A couple of young guys starring in Tom Heyman and Max Gagan. They'll be worth watching today in that Method Motorsport McLaren. And of course, yesterday we had some very special guests chopper in from Ford on the global stage to celebrate 100 years of Ford in this country. And let's hope that one of the many Mustangs can celebrate here this weekend.
Yeah, certainly right. And I think this category here this weekend, 31 cars entered. Just the size and the amount competing and passionate motorsport fans getting a part of this category is fantastic to see. And the type of cars, we've got the Audis, we've got the Ferraris, so just iconic brands, a massive field. And these conditions, this wind, we're still feeling it here in pit lane, Rusty, and it's going to continue through this race. Do you think that'll have any impact at all?
I think given that the races we've enjoyed so far, they'll be acutely aware of the impact of that. Some very good drivers in this field. You saw a shot there a moment ago of George Miedeke and Rylan Gray. Rylan highly rated within the Ford framework on the global stage. In fact, in the latter part of last year was certainly being watched closely by Ford on at an international level. So we're in pretty much the starters' hands here. Won't be long before the cars set off here. What we were treated to yesterday was, as we take a look at the updated weather conditions there for you on screen, the gusts of wind that Bella's been alluding to will be a real talking point here. But it is clear the sky's nice and blue, cooler, but the presence of a pretty decent wind chill about the place. But what we were treated to yesterday, just with the lineup of cars for this class, the growth that we have experienced for 2025, it is in great shape.
It certainly is. It's a real testament to the class and to the category, what we've been seeing here this weekend. The sheer number, the size and scale of it has been fantastic to witness. We were treated to a great race yesterday, and it's only going to continue here this afternoon, Rusty.
And it's a great team battle as well. We should remember that the likes of Chaz Mostert and many others are in this pit lane, behind the scenes, helping to guide some of these young racers, some of the great cars in this class. It is terrific as a part of the Speed Series offering that we're able to bring you GT4 racing. If you're new to it, of course, the cars compared to their GT3 cousins, their siblings, if you will, which are probably on the harder to drive, more advanced race car perspective. These are a little more user-friendly, shall we say, but they have all the great DNA of some of the makes and marks around the world, from Audi to Porsche, Ford, and many more. So some real aspirational cars within this field. A diverse array of drivers amongst the field too. So we're just about ready to take you back to commentary now. The field about to get underway for an hour's worth of competition here. Pit stops will be a factor as well. We'll guide you through the regs in relation to that as we take you back to Richard Craill and enjoy Monochrome Australia GT4 Race 2 of the weekend here at the Island.
Rusty, Bella, thank you, and what a great vibe it is here at this incredible racetrack as we get set for the second race in a compelling championship. It was a great start yesterday. Now, the drivers that finished race one, Thomas Randall, start race two, and then we swap them over halfway through with the mandatory pit stop in the middle of the race, and then they'll bring it home with a flourish, I am sure. Good morning to you. Nice to have you here. Fair bit to unpick from race one yesterday. Tom Heyman and Max Gagan got the win. The Audi was second, which was a little bit of a surprise. They've been a great surprise package this weekend. Rylan Gray and George Miedeke third in the silver class, and then silver AM won by Aaron Seaton and Jason Gomersall, the AN class by Jacob Lawrence in a BMW. But it all chops and changes today, and the first thing we need to talk about is those cars that we've just listed spend a little bit more time in pit lane today as a result of having success yesterday.
That's correct, they do. Good morning to you, Crailsy. Good morning to everyone tuning into our coverage here from Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Beautiful conditions when you look here from the camera. However, the wind is up to nearly 40 kilometres an hour. It's basically a tailwind into turn one as we get our track map of the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Just over 4.4 kilometres long, 12 turns. And it is such a tricky track. The drivers love it. It's all about flow. braking confidence for those 2 hairpins at turn 4 and turn 10. Miller corner, MG, and then trying to carry as much speed as you can around all the high-speed corners. And we saw yesterday how tricky it can be for the likes of George Medicki. Had that massive moment in behind the number 25 McLaren at the last corner, as we called it, a bit of a brown pants moment. Very lucky to get away with it and still finish on the podium. Now that car is going to serve a 5-second extra pit stop time as you add that to the pit stop compensation time, something that we didn't have yesterday. And this is how they'll line up for race number 2 this morning.
Yeah, well, this is the entries and the field that's assembled. There's some great combinations that stood out. Cameron Crick and Dean Campbell had a really good day yesterday. They were outstanding. Daniel Ferguson and Tim Berryman, so it's great to see Toyota involved with the Supra, the Evo 2 version of that car making its Australian debut. And some good combinations that have come in from other categories as well, from production cars, from TCR racing, so Zach Suter and Glenn Nerwin as well, which is very cool to see. And some names more familiar in this category from last year, like Jacob Lawrence and the Randall Racing BMW team, who did a really good job yesterday to get the M-Class win. And with that, we should take it over to John Bow, who I know is watching on and enjoying all of the action. Still one of the most passionate racing enthusiasts you'll ever meet, 2-time Bathurst champ. And I know he enjoyed working with the Lawrences and the BMW team at Randall 12 months ago. So everyone sets themselves up, a rolling start, 2 by 2. So to your point, 15 seconds added to the pit stop time for Tom Heyman and Maxi Gagan today. Purdy and Price in the Audi get 10, Gray and Medicki 5. So it levels the playing field. So let's say you're Nash Morris and Zoe Woods. You've got 5 seconds at least up your sleeve over the cars around you, so that gives you a great opportunity to buy yourself into race 2.
And they were very much in the mix yesterday, Crailsy, especially in the last sort of 10-15 minutes of the race. So they're going to want to be hoping that there isn't a safety car in that window and they can capitalise on having that 5, 10 and 15 second buffer up their sleeve. Just someone quickly I wanted to touch on before we get underway racing here is the Mercedes, of Jared Hughes and Summer Rintoul. They've had a tough start to the weekend. Heaps of pace. They went from last to 5th and then unfortunately were disqualified for a BOP infringement just underneath the minimum ride height.
Yeah, which is immediate exclusion. So as a result, they'll start from the back of this one, but they proved it can be done. So rinse and repeat, hopefully, for that combination in the 888 AMG Mercedes GT4. So away we go. George Medicki and Daniel Price on the front row of the grid. Ford Mustang GT4 versus Audi R8 GT4. Max Gagan is next in the McLaren. Zoe Woods starting the TechWorks Porsche. Little packing up required from some cars who are still a long way back, but we're underway for race 2 in Monochrome GT4. And that bottom end grunt of the Ford Mustang will help George Medicki fire it down towards turn 1 on the inside. Price will sail around the outside if he can in the Nippies Audi. And the battles are on behind. And there's dramas around and spins, and Campbell with a big, big moment in the Ford Mustang.
Lots of damage on the McLaren as well there. So those two, it would appear to have made significant contact into turn 1 of lap 1. And I'll tell you what, boys, there's still 54 minutes to go in this race. You don't want to be having these kind of incidents, and we go straight away to safety car here, Crailsy.
So they'll all get out of it on the run down to turn 4. Camilleri made a good start in the AMG, but Campbell, who's teamed up with Cameron Crick, they did an awesome job yesterday. Outstanding performance to be second in the Silver Am class, just behind Aaron Seaton and Jason Gomersall. So Glenn Nerwin was the other car involved in the tough lift McLaren that he's sharing with TCR star Zach Suter. So unfortunately, those two with big contact in that rush into turn 1. Big field, everyone barreling down there at 200 k's an hour. Moments like that happen, but an unfortunate outcome for those two cars, and we find ourselves under safety car for the first time today.
Let's see if we get a replay here into turn 1. So the top sort of 5, 8 cars. Looks like Campbell's already had a moment into turn 1, whether or not he was helped. And then, unfortunately, for the McLaren of Nerwin, he just had nowhere to go, trying to avoid around the outside. And that sort of plucked the right front out of that McLaren and torn the rear off the Ford of Campbell. But whether or not Campbell was aided in losing the rear there, but it's not a fun experience as a driver, Crailsy, going backwards into turn 1 off the start when you've still got about 20 odd cars behind you as well.
So safety car clean-up underway at turn 1. Medicki leads Price and Gagan in race 2 of Monochrome GT4 Australia. So while the recovery happens, the BMW M safety car leads the field for the first time in Monochrome GT4 Australia today. A good start for the Ford Mustang, sporting number 100 on the side. Now, the thing about an early safety car in these races is that it does stop an opportunity for field spread, which means the cars that do have a bit of extra pit stop time don't have as much of an advantage to build some margin out the front of the field. So it means that there can be a little bit more pain when you're sitting stationary in pit lane and other cars are rattling past, depending on the length of that safety car as well.
Yeah, this is really going to hurt those out in front. So the Tom Heyman car, the 25 car, currently in third. For Mediki, who's currently leading on the track, they only have a 5 seconds extra added onto their pit stop time, so won't affect them as much. However, they're just going to want to bolt as soon as this thing gets underway, and we can see that damage on the right rear. It's actually pushed the exhaust into the center of the car, and that somewhat of a diffuser remaining underneath. But whether or not Motorsport Australian Race Control will let that car continue, it just really depends on if that exhaust is securely fastened still after that contact.
And the Ford Raptor Ranger recovery down at turn 1, helping drag the Glenn Irwin tough lift McLaren out of that gravel trap. Had a good chat with Dean Campbell this morning, and guy from Bathurst, very experienced production car racer, huge amount of time behind the wheel and rapidly coming on in his driving. DA Campbell Transport, based in Bathurst. They do a lot of runs up to Queensland, to Brisbane. Very, very busy outfit, 40 staff on board and about 20 trucks. So very successful business in that part of the world, but he's come on rapidly as a driver in his own right, with Cameron Crick working very hard with him as well. Stubbsy?
Speaking of that man and the team, they're always on it down here. The hat goes on, which is a good look, and you're smiling with me now, but that's disappointment. Second in class yesterday. That's a tough start to today.
Yeah, it is. Bit unfortunate there for Dean. He was driving really well yesterday. I just spoke to him real briefly when he came in. He said everything's tracking okay. It looks like it was more just the rear bar. So he's gone straight back out. Fingers crossed everything's okay. But yeah, maybe cold tyres or someone got into him. I didn't really see what happened, but hopefully we can sort of stay on the lead lap and finish okay.
You don't need aero in the rear at Phillip Island on a windy day like this, do you?
No, exactly. The wind's worse enough. Just send it.
Mate, thanks for your time. Box on. In general, the Mustang this weekend, it's really coming into form, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a really good car. We only got it 3 weeks ago, so we're tuning it every session. So yeah, we feel like we're getting it better and better. But we made another change for today, so hopefully we can still feel it when I get in. But yeah, fingers crossed, all okay.
Thanks for your time, mate.
No worries, thank you.
Thanks, Stubbsy. Cameron Crick down there at the DA Campbell Transport racing car. They say they made a few little tweaks to that car overnight in terms of setup. They hadn't deviated far from how the car arrived when it landed from Ford. So they were starting to tune and get that car into a window where they were both very comfortable with it. But a great result yesterday, second in the Silver Ram class, 7th position on the road. Was a solid start. They'll be back. I feel like they're going to be contenders and get stronger and stronger as the year goes on.
Absolutely, and when you've got a co-driver in Cam Crick as well, and Stubbsy said, he had the hat straight on. Always good with the sponsors is Cam Crick, and they've sent that car back out on track. So, albeit taking the rear of the field, but at least they'll just get a lot more miles for the remainder of the race, and we are still under the control of the BMW M safety car here at Phillip Island.
BMW M safety car leads the fields here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. We're under safety car for a lap 1, turn 1 incident that involved 2 cars, Glenn Irwin and the Dean Campbell BMW. Just heard from Cameron Crick talking about that. Flatbed recovery truck down there now recovering that McLaren that he and Zach Suter have been sharing today. They were 14th yesterday and 6th in Silver Ram, so a solid debut for that brand new race team and one of many McLaren Artura GT4s on the grid this weekend. George Medica leads the way. He and Rylan Gray had a really good job yesterday and a recovery that got them to 3rd, which means they only get 5 seconds of pit stop penalty time in their CPS today after a wild moment coming out of the final corner. Had a huge spin, a huge off, just gentle contact with the tyres. Rare you can get away with something like that at Phillip Island, but caught up briefly with George this morning and he said, yeah, I was thinking about it. I had time to think about how I was going to exit from that scenario, and it all worked. Zigged when he should have zagged, but this time the zagging worked and he was able to get through there. So really impressive job from those guys. Meineke Motorsport are the Australian distributor for Multimatic, who's the brand behind the Ford Mustang GT4 car. So all of the Mustangs in the grid have come through the Meinekes, and they're looking at great things, including the new Mustang Cup, which will start in 2026. Stubbsy?
Well, he's a very familiar face when it comes to the Shannon Speed Series. We've seen him on the top step in TCR Australia on multiple occasions. Now Monochrome GT4. I don't like to catch up with you under these conditions, Zach, but Glenn out there, talk us through what happened, and that's a tough start.
Yeah, absolutely. Not quite sure what happened, to be honest. He said that someone spun into him, and from the footage it looks like he was just trying to avoid an accident that wasn't of his own doing. So I think he's an innocent bystander in this one, which is, yeah, a bit of a shame. To be honest, we're just here trying to learn the car and obviously just make our way forward and get to know what the McLaren likes and doesn't like, and probably really needed that race to just get some laps, and it's just unfortunately he's been taken out in that manner. So
it's been a late kind of decision, hasn't it, to bring this team together. So for the McLaren, you're a little on the back foot, but in terms of how much you've enjoyed it and what the car has shown to you in this category, 31 entrants is pretty impressive, right? Yeah, it's amazing. It's incredible what the category's been able to build in such a short space of time, really, to bring itself together and have over 30 cars this weekend. And yeah, we're really enjoying it. We're obviously running the McLaren as well, and love racing too. So 2 cars in the garage. They're doing a great job as well. So to that point, it's been a great weekend. But yeah, we'll come back stronger for the next one and go again in Sydney. Mate, the car might be not looking so mint at the moment, but your hair is always immaculate. We love it, mate. Great to see you back here on the Shannon Speed Series, and enjoy this season. Thanks, Stubbsy. Appreciate it, mate.
Thanks, Stubbsy. Zach Suter, he's a great guy. A fascinating story about how he and Glenn Irwin got together, and it was basically a cold call through the Facebook page for Tough Lift Racing. He said, hey, I'd love to come and race some TCR with you, and they ended up putting a couple of Audis on the grid in that category, and then they've moved across into Monochrome GT4 Australia this year, which is really cool. So hopefully they can bounce back stronger. They're another combo that, like the Crick Campbell car, will build as the season goes on. We understand from Motorsport Australia Race Control, the race director, James Taylor, the absolute guru that he is, will be one more lap until we go back to green, potentially this time by. So looking forward to getting a resumption of racing, and it's already worth looking ahead to when the mandatory pit stop window opens, 25 minutes to 35 in the race. And as we touched on, Thomas, the longer the safety car is out, the less of an opportunity there are for guys at the front of the field to build a margin, especially those that have to spend a little bit more time in pit lane in this race because of their success penalty from yesterday.
Well, this is really going to help guys like Jake Camilleri, Cody Bircher and Tim Lay in that BMW. But in saying that, there were quite a lot of pit lane infringements yesterday, Crailsy, with a lot of cars speeding in pit lane, going underneath their mandatory CPS time. So that's something that everyone's going to need to really be on top of today and be sharp in the lane. But we're only about 11 minutes away from that pit window opening. So I think you'd expect to see everyone probably stay out long and try and build a gap, especially those cars, well, the top 3 cars that have those extra pit stop time, and that will go not only for the silver, but silver AM and the AM category as well.
Car I just wanted to point out going really well before we go back to racing is the number 56 Ginetta G55. White car, orange stripes. It's currently 6th in the queue behind the BMW M safety car, and Valentino Astudi has had a very, very good start to the race in the opening lap. Shared this car with Courtney Prince. It's a very, very last minute opportunity to get onto the grid this weekend. The deal was basically put together on Thursday to get that car on the grid. So to be in the top 6 little British sports car manufacturer, they had some clutch issues with that car yesterday, and they were running up and down pit lane to try and find a replacement Sachs clutch for it that they could get in that car. Well, it's clearly working now. Clutch is good, lights are out on the safety car, so we'll go back to racing. They've got the clutch in that car and it's going well. And Valentino, his brother's been in the commentary box over the weekend as well, doing a little bit of comps for us in First Focus Radicals, but cool to see that car well. I'm looking forward to Courtney having an opportunity to drive. She's a really good little peddler. Keen to see how she goes when she gets behind the wheel at the pit stop.
And speaking of pit stops, that's a car that won't have any extra pit stop time. So we've got to be in the lane from pit entry to pit exit. well, actually their pit stop time is 120 seconds, so it ends up being quite a long time in the lane for everyone. So as we just round the second last corner here, the penultimate corner of Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit, and will be led away by George Medicki in that number 100 Ford, as it looks like he has put the throttle down, pedal to the metal, and quite a nice restart from him. So we are back underway, finally under green here. 16 minutes into the race, we can finally say that the race technically is underway.
And they'll be looking for as much green flag running as they possibly can. Camilleri having a look at Max Gagan in the McLaren there for 3rd and 4th position. Silver class cars 1st through 7th. Jason Gomersal there in the blue Mustang is the first of the silver Am cars. Zoe Woods on the outside, Astudi on the inside. Porsche versus Ginetta side by side, and Astudi will hold on to that position. That's Zoe attacking, going to go round the outside through turn 3, and the big stop downhill. This is Gagan looking up the inside of Price, and the Method Motorsport McLaren Artura goes through and goes to 2nd position. Has Zoe got the spot? Yes, she has. Good pass, and gets Valentino Astudis up to 6th place.
But I think they might, Astudi's had to yield there. See, Astudi made that move into turn 2, but Zoe Woods hung tough around the outside, and had that run all the way around the outside of turn 3. And the way this track goes is that then leads you to have the inside for turn number 4. So she's managed to stay down the inside, and we saw a brilliant move from Gagan on Price as well. So it's going to allow him to try and get on the back of Medicki. And just remember, that 25 McLaren has the longest penalty of all, 15 seconds extra pit stop time. So if he can try and find his way past Medicki, that's only going to help the cause. But we're not too far away here, about 8 minutes away from that CPS window opening.
Some good battles all the way through here. Nathan Callahan in the 777 Porsche, sharing with Chris Lillis, a couple of West Aussie blokes enjoying their racing. They've come out of production cars, and behind them, Tim Berryman, very experienced racer in his own right, in open wheelers back in the day, rolls out the Lola F5000 every now and then, but making a bit of a return this year. The first of the Toyota Supras we've seen. A big move, Cody Bircher around the outside of Jake Camilleri, and gets the pass. So that gets Bircher up to 4th position.
Tell you what, you don't often see an outside move there, but Camilleri's got the run, and I think Bircher's going to have to slide in behind Camilleri here. So as much as it looked like an incredible pass, as he tries another outside move here around the turn 4 and just can't quite get it done.
Camilleri will hold on. Cody was in the old COVID times, was a bit of a sim racing gun in that period, popped up in all the esports series, so very good digitally, but he's proved over the last couple of years he's great behind the wheel of a race car, especially this BMW Team Orange, with Tim Lade to drive that car in the second half of the race. I just caught behind as well. Astudi and Woods were going at it again in the Ginetta versus Porsche battle.
Here comes Bircher again, down the inside. Late move, sorry to cut you off there, Crailsey. Down the inside of turn number 10, MG corner. Now, can he hold on to this down the straight? Because the Mercedes actually has some pretty decent straight line speed. The BMW's pretty good round the corners. So, but he's already got a nice gap here. So if he can hold on to this thing and maintain this position into turn 1, that'll be a nice position gain. So they were going at it for pretty much that whole lap. He finally went for an inside move.
Well, and that's a battle for first of the cars to not have any extra pit stop time over and above that 122nd for the compulsory pit stop in the race. So there's a bit in that, because they're going to get some gain as the race plays out a little bit later on. Zoe Woods has cleared Antonio Astudi. They were side by side as well, back of shot when they went down into turn 4 last time around. But Zoe has cleared it. Spoke to her dad, Rob Woods. Oh, she's just dropped a couple of wheels off on the exit of the Southern Loop, and you have to be so careful there, because it can drag you wide and fire off towards Tasmania if you're not careful. She gathers it up. I spoke to Woodsy this morning, and he said so proud. She was 1.5 seconds quicker this year compared to the same car, same track in August last year. Massive step forward in performance, and Nash Morris has been driving well in that car too. But that was a hairy moment. She got it gathered up, but it cost her 2 positions Lockie Hennock in the second of the Method Motorsport McLarens, also able to get through.
It's just got wide out of there off turn 2. Easy to do. It's such a long corner, Southern Loop, and if you get on the throttle a bit too early, you can just literally understeer all the way to the exit. Easy to do, and I believe we call that a commentator's curse, don't we? Right as you were talking her up.
Commentators, no, Thomas, they don't exist. It's just, it is not a thing that happens. So this is the battle for the lead. Miedeke and Gagan 1 and 2, 0.8 of a second between them. Here is a Studi and Lockie Hennock. So the second of the Method Motorsport cars, Nathan Morecambe, will drive the back half of the race. It started to charge forward. That's another car without any pit stop time. A little bit further back, here is another McLaren versus another Ginetta. We're looking at Jason Yu. That's the Zagami Autosport McLaren, and that has got a drive-through penalty coming for a safety car breach. So Josh Buchan to drive, second driver there. He will have to serve a drive-through penalty. You cannot do that as part of your mandatory pit stop. It has to be separate. So chuck away another 35 odd seconds, transiting at 40 k's an hour.
Not sure what's happened with the Studi here, whether he's got a timing glitch, Crailsey. Timing's picking him up down in 27th position, so not sure whether there is a problem there.
Good to see the Campbell car back out on the road, and they got Dean back out before the safety car finished, so he didn't lose a lap. So he's currently scored 22nd, but there's opportunity here with that Ford Mustang to get back up the leaderboard, and we can visually confirm that Valentino Astudi is actually still in 6th position, so the Ginetta very much still in the fight. Timing transponder issue perhaps, if you're wondering where the Ginetta disappears to on the timing screen every now and then. Left of the timing totem, left of the screen.
Gagan's got that gap down now to less than half a second. Miedeke on this lap said he's set the fastest first sector, but I don't know whether he had an issue in the middle sector, because on that lap, Gagan just pulled out 4/10 on Miedeke, and we can visually see how close it is now for the battle for the lead of this second Monochrome GT4 Australia race. And we're less than 3 minutes away from the CPS window opening. Remember, 25 minutes from the commencement of the race does the CPS window open, and whether or not Gagan can just apply that bit of extra pressure on Miedeke, as I'm sure all the second drivers will be suiting up in the lane, getting ready to hop in very shortly. And you can see how good that 25 McLaren is under brakes there at Miller Corner, and just sitting in behind. Slightly different lines there. You can see Gagan going a little bit wider on entry, trying to get the run off the corner, but this is where the Ford really can just stretch his legs all the way down into H as they'll be going around this right-hander. Amazing shots from the drone. You can just see the elevation change all the way as you head up to Lukey Heights. It's actually blind as you head up over here, and to try and spot the line you want heading into MG is really important and quite challenging as Miedeke goes defensive into MG corner. I'll tell you what, Gagan's trying to rub the stickers off the back of that Lubramax GT4 Mustang.
And this was a problem yesterday, wasn't it? Because we saw similar circumstances with the car locked up behind the Mustang, but they get off a corner so well, they're very, very difficult to pass. This is important for Method Motorsport because they've got more pit stop time than the Lubramax Mustang. So Gagan really needs to clear Miedeke here, try and build as much of a margin he can to negate that pit stop difference, that extra time they've got to spend as a result of their stop yesterday. So that's why there's a little bit of intensity into this. The other point is that they're going to have to, will they go longer? Go as long as they possibly can into the pit stop window. You've got 10 minutes, at a minute 35 a lap, you can get 5 or 6 laps of extra running before you pit to maximise. But there's always a risk. If you stay out, you could risk a safety car, and that will absolutely destroy your race.
Miedeke still covering into turn 4. I actually spoke with the engineer of the 24 Method Motorsport McLaren before the race, Sam Scafidi, who is the engineer of Chaz Mostert at Walkinshaw and Ready United, and he said yesterday how important that clean air was for them. And there was the chat on the radio yesterday of do what he doesn't do. If he pits, we stay out. If he stays out, we pit. And he said the strengths and weaknesses of both cars are in the completely different parts of the track. So I think there's a very good chance, Crailsey, that you'll see these cars not pitting together.
We were talking about box opposite in GT World Challenge, weren't we? And then everyone didn't box opposite. They all boxed the same, boxed the same lap. So the pit window is now open.
Who's going to blink first, Crailsy?
Do you go in first? And you do if you're Miedeke. So the leader goes in and box opposite.
There it is.
Box opposite for Method Motorsport. So Maxi Gagan stays out, George Miedeke in straight away. And there was a little bit of hesitation there as George committed to getting the car into the lane.
I think George actually tried to jinx the car and trick Gagan to force him to pit. But when you're the second car, it's a lot easier to judge. And here's a lot of the drivers getting ready. There is the Audi driver.
Blake Purdy.
Purdy.
Yeah, jump in after a really good start from Daniel Price. His co-driver, a bit of a karting gun and some Aussie racing cars experience, but coming back to racing this year, been super impressive. Blake Purdy's going to be good. Battles all the way throughout the year. It's a bit of a flotilla of Mercedes AMG GT4s here, and a Randall Racing BMW in behind. Griffith, Love, Newman, and Lawrence at the back of this. So the leaders in the lane. Who stayed out? So Gagan continues on. Cody Bircher, no pit stop time in the Central West Prestige BMW with Tim Lay to jump in. Camilleri stayed out. Valentino Astudi stayed out as well. So those leading cars all remain on the racetrack, and they've still got plenty of time to serve that stop.
Now, Gagan had to stay out. That's the only way that they're going to be able to make up some time, but they do run the risk. If there is a safety car in the next, 5 or so minutes, that's where it's really going to cost him. But we did see yesterday there wasn't any safety cars in the race, so they'll be gambling on that, and he's just got to go as fast as possible now, try and get some pace and get a gap if he can, because, and there he stays out again as we see, and that car, as we've mentioned, is going to have 15 seconds added to its mandatory pit stop time. So from pit in to pit out is 120 seconds.
And this is Max Gagan going through, putting a lap on the team car who's pitted on that opening lap. So that's the difference between a pit stop and not here. It gains you an enormous amount of time staying out, because the pit stop window, the time is so long, 120 seconds plus any penalties. The Lubrimax Mustang just leaving the lane now. So this car's more than a full lap in front, but it comes back the other way, of course, when the 25 car will go to pit lane. But right now it's in clean air, it's in optimum conditions to punch out fast lap times. So when we talk in long distance racing of overcuts and undercuts, they're going for the overcut now to try and minimise some of that lost time in the pit stop.
And they have to. So as we see, the number 100 Lubrimax Ford Mustang of, well, now Ryland Gray, who's taken over that car with we've just clocked over 30 minutes remaining in this race, and he's got plenty of clear air as well with the BMW in behind him. And we just had about 15 cars in the lane before, so a lot of cars taking the opportunity to do their mandatory pit stop. And we've got Whitaker, Griffith, Love, Newman, Lawrence, you, Campbell. Now, you actually got a drive-through for a safety car infringement earlier, so not quite sure what he did wrong there. We can actually see a hazard flag just showing for turn 2. Maybe a little bit slippery down there or some gravel across the track, as we're focused back now on Maxi Gagan. You can see all the cars actually leaving the lane up ahead, so he may have to navigate with some traffic here, which could really hurt into trying to build a gap.
35.1 for Max Gagan, which is only a few tenths off the fastest lap of the race. He's flying. Camilleri pits. Dean Campbell pits. This has been a solid recovery from this team. They've got an extra 10 seconds to serve. What the crew are doing there is bleeding some tyre pressure out, so you're allowed to knock the pressures down on the tyres back to where you might start the race. Obviously, the hotter the tyre gets, the pressure builds. The car will slide and move around more, so you can reset that in the pit stop. Camilleri, Valentino Astudi in the Ginetta now as well. And then Tony Quinn pits, Nathan Callahan in as well, was the AM class leader in the Porsche. We'll hand over to Chris Lillis. Tony Quinn copped a 5-second penalty that was for overlapping on the restart of the race. We had a chat with TQ this morning, which is always a highlight of your day, is when you catch up with the great man. He said, I go all right for a 68-year-old, just enjoying it. He does what he does, he goes at his own pace, and he's still loving it in his Supra. We're hearing that Max Gagan will pit this time by, and he's going to have to, because not far away out from the pit stop window closing now. So we'll keep an eye for the Method Motorsport McLaren. There it goes, into the lane. Max Gagan, the reigning GR Cup champion in one-make Toyota 86 racing. And he is an impressive young talent, both on and off the racetrack. Really engaging guy to talk to, a rising young star of our sport. And he will hand over to his teammate, Tom Heyman, for the second half of the race. Now, this car needs to do an entire lap of 4.46 of Phillip Island, K's of Phillip Island, before it can then contend for the race lead.
I think the reason Gagan pitted them was because he wasn't too far away from catching that lap traffic. And also, I guess, another couple of laps, you've got to be careful with the pit window closing. But couldn't afford any dirty air whatsoever. But it will feel like an eternity for the Gagan-Heyman McLaren as they are doing their driver change, making sure that they follow all procedures. Got to hit that 40K line when he entered pit lane. It's a really tricky one here because it's a lot earlier than you think. You hit 40Ks before you actually head down into pit lane, and it is a really narrow pit lane as well here. So doing the tyre pressures, bleeding the pressures here, and the gap was about 2 minutes and 8 seconds when they entered the lane. So,
and this car's pit stop was essentially 2 minutes and 15 seconds. It's 135 seconds, 120 plus the 15 extra for winning yesterday. So they've shaved some margin out by staying out. There's no doubt. Brilliant stint from Maxi Gagan. Where does it all level out? What sort of traffic does Ryland Gray have to deal with in the Lubramax Mustang? Will that play a role? The rejoin will be fascinating. And then, of course, the race is still very much on, even if this car does emerge back in second or third position. We're also watching for Blake Purdy. Now, Blake's 6.5 seconds behind Ryland Gray in what could be the battle for the net race lead. Here is the Mustang over Lukey Heights.
Keep an eye out for Cody Bertra as well. He's in the lane too, and they don't have to serve any extra pit stop time. So we'll keep an eye on that as well, as the 25 is not far away now from leaving the lane. Like I said before, this is going to just feel like an eternity. Here we go. Away he goes. He's still got to navigate basically half the pit lane before he can release the limiter and open up the throttle. And I think the number 100 car is safe, and that's the BMW.
And that was a lead change right there. So Tim Lay, for a moment, had taken the race lead, but Ryland Gray sweeps past as the BMW exits pit lane and gets back up to speed. So the Lubramax Mediki Motorsport Ford Mustang will be the race leader. Now, this is all cleansed. Tom Heyman resumes in 4th position, but only 6.5 seconds behind Ryland Gray. So they're basically made up by staying out 9 seconds of that pit stop penalty they had.
So they had a 15-second penalty for extra time, 5 seconds for this car. So they've made up, about 4-5 seconds. So, and with still 25 minutes to go, we know how fast that McLaren is around here, especially when it has clear air, but he's gonna have to try and clear Blake Purdy and Tim Lay before trying to get on the back of Ryland Gray, as we see Ryland just navigating through some traffic here, the BMW, the Morris Finance BMW.
So this race well and truly alive. Ryland Gray leads Tim Lay and Blake Purdy in the silver class. Daniel Frugas leads the way in silver AM, and Chris Lillis on top in the AM class in Monochrome GT4 Australia. This has the potential to be a beauty, and flying in 3rd place is Blake Purdy. So they had 10 seconds extra pit stop time. He's only 3 seconds behind Ryland Gray, but has got to get past Tim Lay as well. Let's go down to Bella in the lane.
George Mediki now started from pole and a really strong start there. How did that feel?
Yeah, really good. You know, we made a couple of changes. The Lubramax Mustang was a bit loose yesterday, so we made a couple of changes. Might have gone a little bit too far, but it's definitely a lot more manageable today, and I felt very comfortable from pole. So, yeah, it was a good start. Ryland's jumped in now and is leading, so I've every confidence in him to bring it home.
So what is the strategy for Ryland out there? What do you want to see from him?
Go like buggery, really. You know, it's as fast as he possibly can. It's, you know, the big Mustang obviously has a strength. It's got great drive and it's got a great engine. So he'll be looking to maximise that and finish off the stint strong.
All right. Well, good luck. Thanks for your time.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Bella. George Mediki would have been doing the splits below camera there, trying to take about 3 feet out of his height. The tallest blokes in pit lane, and we've got dramas, and this is a shame because this car was leading the AM class earlier in the race. The statewide oil Porsche of Chris Lillis is stranded on the entry to Lukey Heights, which is a high commitment, fast left-hand corner at the top of the hill at the back of the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. So Motorsport Australia Race Control will be watching that, and immediately they go safety car.
I think they would have just been seeing whether or not Chris Lillis could actually get it out of there before going to safety car, but this is going to bring the race up. What have you got for us, Stubbsy?
I actually have really put the Mozza on these guys because I was teeing up to have a chat with Nathan as the leading AM, and then we look up at the screen and the car with Chris is on the side. You're no longer leading. Exactly, mate. That's shattering. What's the problem?
I don't know. I think maybe there was a hit. I'm not sure. You can see the damage on the car, the guard's missing. I haven't heard yet, so yeah, not great.
How is it tracking other than that? It's been a nice weekend. It's really progressed.
Yeah, it has. So yesterday was pretty good. We've done some tune-ups overnight, and it was a jet this morning. So good. So it was really looking forward to a strong result today.
We're going to leave you there and wish you all the best. We'll see you again throughout the season. Thanks for your time. But we'll move on behind Nathan. It's going to be a little tricky for the cameraman, but I just want to bounce on over here and grab Maxi Gagan. Max, heartbreak on one side of the garage, some clapping of hands with the timing of a safety car. From the other side of the garage, I mean, this works pretty well for you guys. The stint, first of all, how did you find it?
Yeah, it was good. I was able to catch up to that Mustang pretty quickly. The Method McLaren was on rails. But then once I was behind him, it started to get a little bit hot, and I just, as he pulled in, I was like, okay, cool, let's set some qualifiers, and got some clear air and got some good time, and then started to make a few little mistakes myself. So, but got full faith in Tommy, he can bring it home from here. Unfortunately, the boys in the 777, it's not good for them, but it's going to help us, so we're just got to capitalise on this now. And yeah, as I said, full faith in Tommy. Like, he's unreal in this car, like learning so much from him, so it's going to be a good race, I think.
So really the safety car has just bridged that gap for you, hasn't it? And as you said, you just got all backing in Tommy.
Yeah, I think so. It's just going to make it a bit easier for us. I think we probably could have caught that Audi maybe. Tommy's been very, very fast, as we've seen all weekend. So, as I said, I've got full faith in him. The WM waste management thing's on rails, so he'll make it work, I'm sure.
Thanks, Max.
Cheers.
Thanks to Chris Stubbs chatting to Max Gagan there, and before that Nathan Callahan, who's a great character, and a real shame to see that Porsche out of the race. They were AM class contenders here. Rylan Gray leads the way. We're behind the control of the BMW M safety car at Phillip Island. And we get a reset on this race. It will be a 15-minute sprint race, you feel, to the checkered flag, and that is something to look forward to. Let's have a look, Tommy, down the field a little bit for some key performers. Have a look at the car in 9th position, would you? Jared Hughes in the Mercedes. We talked about them. Unfortunately, a ride height infringement in yesterday's race meant that their charge through to the top 5 was ended up in disqualification. There it is mid-screen. The number 87 black with the pink and purple highlights for 888 Race Engineering. They've climbed to 9th position. Great job at the start of the race by Summer Rintle to climb through the field, and Jared now in 9th place with clearly car speed to go with this leading group.
They've had to do it the hard way this weekend, haven't they, Crailsey? A small incident in qualifying led to them not even having been able to set a lap in either qualifying sessions. From last yesterday, finished in the top 5, disqualified for a BOP breach, too low with the minimum, below the minimum ride height. And they're now in 9th position, like you touched on, and this safety car couldn't have come at a better time for them, really, because there's 19 minutes to go, the field's bunched up, and this is just going to absolutely help them for when this race gets restarted.
So recovery still underway on the entry to Lukey Heights here at Phillip Island, the Shannon Speed Series of Monochrome GT4 Australia. So we wait for a recovery to be completed by our hardworking volunteer officials here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Go back to racing, and it will be a flat-out sprint race. So we go from enduro mode with pit stops and a bit of strategy and under and overcuts and pit stop times to drive the cars as hard as you possibly can. And that was the instruction, wasn't it, at Method Motorsport to Tom Heyman from Max Gagan. Go out and wheel the thing as hard as you possibly can.
And that's just what we love as commentators, Crailsey. We like seeing a, flat-out attack, sprint to the end. So hopefully we can get this race underway. Like you said, all the volunteer officials and marshals helping with that cleanup, as it looks like the 777 will have to go on the flatbed. Too much damage to, I guess, flat tow it back to the pits, as Mediki just trying to keep some temp in those front tyres. Under safety car, it's a bit of a combination of how much do you want to heat the tyre. If it's going to be a long safety car, you sometimes need to give it a bit of a breather, cool the tyres down. But if you know that you're going to get underway again soon, you want to keep the heat and keep the temp in the front brakes, because all that temperature just radiates into the tyres, into the rims. And when you get going again, you want to have that performance and that confidence, especially around these high-speed corners. Just hearing that it could be an incident with car 3, could have been contact with car 3 that has ended up with 777, the Chris Lillis Porsche, being stuck up there with that damage. And car 3 is that BMW Miller shot right now, orange car of Ryder Quinn behind the wheel. Stubbsy?
Just catching up with Zoe Woods down here. Zoe, outstanding battle that you had with Valentino Astudi in the Ginetta. Great racing. How'd you find it out there?
Yeah, definitely. It was really good racing, and I was really excited to be up in P4. Qualifying yesterday went our way, and was really proud of myself to be up there, and my co-driver Nash. I probably haven't given him the best position for our race currently, but hopefully we can get back up there and he can work his magic.
Zoe, you were boxing on so hard. It was awesome to see. A couple of moments we saw the right side of the car, I think, coming out of Southern Loop. You got a few wheels off there. You're making the highlights reel, though. It's how is the Porsche?
Yeah, loving the Porsche. It's a great product. Porsche, amazing. So, yeah, it's so great to see it up the pointy end as well, and having a great team behind me, and having Paul and TechWorks Motorsport around us.
So Nash Morris, Paul Morris, what sort of insights, what kind of things are they sharing with you with all their experience?
Yeah, it's great. All their experience, I'm taking it all on board. We're definitely in the truck most of the day, going through everything, and with all their racing background has been amazing, and having Paul and Nash in my corner has been a huge help.
Zoe, great to see you. We look forward to catching up with you throughout the year.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Stubbsy. Incredibly nervous this morning before the race, her dad said, but drove really, really well and handed that car over in a good position. And the safety car drags Nash into this mix as well. So they're sixths and part of an incredibly diverse group of leading cars at the pointy end as well, which is great to see. So we're not far away, we understand, from a restart. They're still loading that car onto the recovery vehicle at Lukey Heights, but we're looking for a restart very soon as the clock continues to tick. 15 minutes to go in this race. It is going to be a proper flat-out sprint between a bunch of really talented, fast, young racing car drivers at the pointy end of this field, and also up for grabs still are the class battles as well. So Ryland Gray on top, less than 15 minutes to go. Great diversity at the pointy end of the field in Monochrome GT4 Australia. Ryland Gray leads the race in a Ford Mustang. Blake Purdy is second in an Audi R8. Tim Lay is third in a BMW M4. Tom Heyman is fourth in a McLaren Artura. Jake Camilleri is fifth in a Mercedes AMG GT4. And Nash Morris sixth. And yep, he's in a Porsche Cayman 718 Club Sport. 6 different brands represented in the top 6 positions in what is going to be a short, sharp shootout to the finish at the island in race 2 of Monochrome GT4 Australia. We hope you're enjoying the coverage. The BMW M safety car preparing to return to pit lane. Richard Crail and Tom Randall with you to bring you what is going to be a really exciting sprint to the finish. And the question I've got is, who's going to win it?
That's the million-dollar question, Crailsy. I can't really tell you at the moment. It's too close between, the top 6, and Ryland Gray's going to have the pressure on him, really, for this restart. So we know how good that Mustang is on the straights, but around the corners, the Audi and the McLaren Artura of Heyman have been so fast. So the pressure will certainly be on the number 100 Mustang. Number 100 this weekend, because this year, we are celebrating 100 years of Ford in Australia, which is a pretty incredible achievement. And as we go lights out now on the BMW M safety car, Ryland Gray leading the field, everyone bunching up behind him, so no more weaving, needs to maintain 80 kph. And Blake Purdy right in behind him. The key here, Crailsy, is just to be watching when Ryland goes. If you're the car that's in second or third position, or if you're in third, you need to be looking at the leader to see when they go, to try and make sure that you don't lose any time or lose the least amount of time on those restarts, because this can be a crucial phase when we've only got less than 13 minutes to go.
There is a lapped car just in the middle of this queue, that red Morris BMW run by McElroy Racing. That's Nathan Murray. He's a lap down on this field, so he's just splitting Jake Camilleri and Nash Morris and Nathan Morecambe from these leading four as they go and go hard. So that's the restart point. Everyone else away, and remember, no overlapping before the control line. There's already been penalties from that so far today. Great, Purdy, Lay and Heyman next in fourth. Camilleri, Morris, Morecambe. Frugas in the Supra leading the way in the Silver Am class. A little bit further back is Jacob Lawrence in the BMW leading Am.
Tim Lay.
Side by side, big moment around the outside goes Heyman. Has to make this stick now if he wants to get up and race with those three leading cars. But Tim Lay, the car dealer from Orange, is hugely experienced, a champion race car driver in his own right. Wheel to wheel through Stoner Corner, and then the braking down here into Miller. And the McLaren's going to have the ultimate braking line and gets it down the inside. Pass done, he's third. Tom Heyman, the race one winner, can go chasing Blake Purdy and Ryland Gray.
It's exactly what he wanted on that restart. Lay actually defended into turn one and went off wide, as we've got Camilleri and Nash Morris. Nash going for the move on Camilleri here. Now, he's going to have the outside, and he's going to have to relinquish that. I was going to say the outside of the hay shed, but Lay went defensive into turn one and actually went off the track on the exit of one, and then that brilliant around the outside overtake from Heyman, which let him have the inside for turn four. So Nash Morris here now on the defensive, whether or not he can hang tough around the outside here of Camilleri. Great maneuver, and he's going to have the inside for turn number 11, and that's given him the clear air he needs to try and now get on the back of Tim Lay and see whether or not he can get past him and vie potentially for a podium position, as we see the BMW, the lap BMW, entering pit lane.
So Morris gets the Porsche up to fifth place. Jake Camilleri back a spot. Could be another one because Nathan Morecambe on the approach. And have a look at Jared Hughes in the 888 Mercedes looking down the inside of Morecambe, trying to grab one, trying to grab two at the same time. Turn one and gets it done. Camilleri holds on the outside. The Ginetta is in the mix as well. That's Lockie Manif trying to work his way into it. Aaron Seaton there as well. And not far back from that is Cameron Crick on the recovery drive in the DA Transport, Campbell Transport Racing entry out of Bathurst. So battles all the way up and down the field. Exciting stuff in a 10-minute sprint race in Monochrome GT4.
Frugas looking for a move as there's at the BMW down the inside, the Ginetta, sorry, down the inside Manif of Seaton there. So battles are plenty all throughout the field, and that Ginetta now in front of Camilleri. So Camilleri's lost out a lot actually on this restart.
That move from Jared Hughes was awesome at turn one. Just massive commitment. Committed down the inside of one and then got the other one as well and went really early on Camilleri, who did a good job to catch it because he ended up out in the marbles on the outside of turn one. Meanwhile, back to the front, Ryland Gray has his mirrors full, or is it because the Audi's so low? I wonder if he can see the thing out the back of the Lubramax Mustang. But Blake Purdy, the young South Aussie, who started in sports prototype racing at the Ben Motorsport Park and then moved across to S5000 open wheelers, was fast in both. On his Monochrome GT4 debut, he's looking for a race win.
And Jared Hughes now really moving up the field, up to 6th position in behind Nash Morris. So those two have been relinquished after getting past Frugas and Morecambe. And the top 6 cars are actually all setting very similar lap times, but we could see how strong Blake Purdy is over the top and down into, as we've got nearly 4 wide, nearly into turn number 1. And that is the number 5 BMW of Nathan Murray.
Yeah, that's Tony Quinn, front and centre in the white and black Game Over Toyota Supra. TQ currently in 17th position and 3rd in the AM class, so going really well. Meanwhile, back to the front, Frugas under pressure from the Ginetta, Lockie Manif. That's the battle for the silver AM class victory. In fact, all 4 cars line astern because behind them is Aaron Seaton. That SS Signs entry is Seaton. looking to win that class. He is third, looking to go back-to-back with Jason Gomersal. So that's another combination. The safety car really helped negate that pit stop time and has got them back into the fight.
Now Heyman's really turned it on here in the middle sector, 39.7. So just pulled out 3/10 on the top two, and he's only 1 second away now from the leader. So the top three covered by now. Is that a time?
He's got him.
He has made a mistake, or has Purdy put a move on potentially down into MG? And this is the top three, guys. As we only have less than 8 minutes remaining in this race. We know how good the Ford is.
He goes to Ford. Great run out of the final corner. Looks to the outside at turn one. Ryland Gray. Tough pass to pull off against a rival as strong as Blake Purdy. And Heyman is in this as well. 3 different brands, all fighting for the race lead. 7 minutes to go. But Blake Purdy finds himself in front, or does he? Slides around mid-corner at the exit of the Southern Loop, and it's going to open the door for Ryland Gray. He is right up under the rear wing of the Audi R8. Under brakes, Purdy will defend on the run into turn 4.
Purdy had to cover there, knowing how strong the Ford is in a straight line, but Purdy can just brake so well, late, as we've got, is that Quinoff in the game over Toyota Supra, whether or not he's had contact or just fired it off down into turn 2, but had to cover there, did Purdy on Ryland Gray. And this is all helping Tom Heyman. He'll just be sitting with his hands together thinking, if you guys battle and take it maybe too far, I could capitalise here. So this is the top three. You could throw a blanket over these guys at the moment, how close they're all vying, as Ryland Gray trying to carry some extra speed over Lukey Heights to maybe try and put a move on an MG, but Purdy knew exactly what he was trying to do, and that's actually hurt Ryland Gray because Heyman's got the run now. And look at how much time Ryland's lost trying to pretend to do or fake a move into MG.
Yeah, did he fake it, or was it just getting checked up behind the Audi more than anything, wasn't it? Had a little moment on the outside. I think flashing lights is going to work particularly well to someone like Blake Purdy in front. I don't know if he'll be looking at it. Into turn 1 they go. Top 3 cars, 5.5 minutes to go in this one. The Mustang very good on the entry into the Southern Loop. Ryland can carry so much entry speed into there, and that helps his drive out. We know the Mustang good out of the corner, and it's got good straight line performance. Down towards Stoner Corner, and then Miller, the right-hander, the big stop, turn 4.
Didn't have to cover into there on that lap, but how much ground did the McLaren make up under brakes there? That was very impressive, and he used pretty much all of the extra bitumen on the exit of turn 4 as well.
This battle a little bit further back. Silver Am still going on. Fergus has got a couple of spots further up the road.
Looks like there's a yellow flag here at turn number 5, Siberia, so I don't know whether there was a car off there.
Yeah, there's a car right off.
There is.
Driver's right there, and they're going to leave that under yellow for the rest of the race. So not a noted overtaking opportunity, turn 6. You can do it, but there will be no passing there for the remainder of the race. Crick in this mix as well, up behind Lockie Manif in the Janetta. So this has been a really good comeback for the D.A. Campbell Transport Ford Mustang. Just behind is Lockie Dalton, the Buckby Motors car. And then this fight is Nash Morris versus Jared Hughes. So the JGI car got to 5th yesterday, was disqualified. This is the battle for 5th and 6th position. So from the back of the field to the top 6 in 2 days, hopefully this time it sticks for young Jared and Summer Rintoul, who did such a good job at the start of the race. Pressure on at the lead. It's just settled down. There's just been a little deep breath from Blake Purdy, who's got 8 tenths now over Ryland Gray.
I just wanted to say, Crailsy, Tim Lay, he's done a fantastic job here. He's punching out very similar lap times to the top 3 at the moment, and he's got a nice little buffer back to Nash Morris. So a real credit to him and the team there at Ash Seawood Motorsport in that beautifully prepared BMW. He's done a cracking job in this second half of the race.
Yeah, he is an outrageously good racing car driver, Tim Lay, and for a bloke that races 7 or 8 times a year and day to day still runs the Lay Motor Group out of Orange in country New South Wales, Central West Prestige and their dealership group, he jumps in these cars and he is incredibly fast. And it's the same when he rocks up at the Bathurst 6 Hour in a production car with Beric Linton and Will Davison, super fast there as well. And he continues to show why he is just absolutely elite level.
And this little battle, I was just about to say, they do like to call Tim Play the Mayor of Orange. So we're just tracking the battle now between Hughes and Morris.
This is great for Blake Purdy, with Heyman putting the pressure on Ryland Gray for second and third. This is just letting the Nippies Audi ease out in front of that margin now over 1.2 seconds. George Meineke watching on nervously from pit lane. Towering over the remainder of his race team in front. Puff of smoke in the background there at a fairly high speed bit of road.
It looked like there's a bit of dust there further on down the lap, and there's battles aplenty here. Frugas, I've got to say, he's done a cracking job as well. Leader of the Silver Am, running 7th overall in that number 9 Toyota Supra. So that outfit, GWR, Garth Walden Racing, they've done a great job. Beautifully presented Supra, and at the moment, he's got about, as a second margin, really, back to the, well, Aaron Seaton, and there is that, that is Camilleri?
It is.
What's gone on there, Crailsey? Has he made contact maybe with the tyres? So that's a real shame for those guys.
On drivers, right, so that's the reason for the yellow flag at this part of the world. Siberia, aptly named, one of the coldest parts of the planet sometimes when the wind is blowing in the wrong direction down there. Big tailwind here at Phillip Island today, blowing straight down the Wayne Gardner front straight. A bit of extra straight line motivation, but making turn 1 a little bit hairy perhaps, but otherwise in the sunlight it is stunning today. Not a cloud in the sky, beautiful bright blue and quite warm in the sunlight, which is lovely. Fight is on. Minute and 13 left. There'll be 2 laps left in this race. And the margin easing away for the Audi R8. Nippies, Jam Motorsport running this Aaron Steers team. Literally based at Shell V-Power Motorsport Park in South Australia. Race there later this year. They've put together a really good program. Daniel Price anchored at the start. Blake Purdy, young gun, bringing it home. And they're a couple of laps away potentially from Audi's first Monochrome GT4 Australia win. Fight still on for second and third.
We didn't quite see how he got past Ryland Gray, but I tell you what, since he's got out in front, he hasn't looked back. The gap now, it's over 2 seconds. And the battle between Heyman and Gray has pretty much been going on for the last, 15 minutes. And
he had a look.
You can see again just how strong that McLaren is under braking. And just back to that Silver Am battle, it's about less than a second and a half between Frugas and Aaron Seaton. So that's a nice little battle for the Silver Am honours as well. And Jacob Lawrence, leader of the Am class, and he has about a 5-second gap back to Walker. And just want to touch on Cameron Crick. Remember, they were in the pits after that incident on the first lap at turn 1. And they're in the top 10 overall. So that's been a great drive from both of them.
Yeah, and 4th in class for he and Dean Campbell. So it's a great recovery, which he can do. Heyman looking up the inside. There was an opportunity left slightly open by Ryland Gray.
I think he's there.
Is this enough for Tom Heyman to wrestle second spot away? It is. He gets the position done. And the McLaren moves to second. What a backup from their race 1 victory. Big move. So Gray, it looked like he was struggling to get the car rotated, turned in. It happened down at turn 4 last time by. Here's another look. Now the door was just open and the nose was stuck there by the McLaren. And at that point, the move was well and truly on. Good racecraft from both of them. Good racing room given as well. No point to come to blows with a lap to go. And the pass was made, and Tom Heyman gets himself to second place.
Yeah, it wasn't on the way into MG. Normally the overtake is done at MG corner, but it just got the drive out of MG, and Ryland must have just saw him in his mirrors right at the last second, and he's given him, plenty of space there, racing room. And
we haven't seen it. If I was a betting man, I reckon that's how the Audi got past as well. It looked like the Mustang was really struggling to get into 11. That change of direction out of MG just left the door open slightly. Almost looked like it was understeering. Didn't want to turn into the corner. So it opened the door, and that's what allowed the Audi to get through, and that's what's allowed the McLaren to get through as well. Still, third place, not a bad result for the Lubramax Ford. Out in front, though, what a performance this has been. New under-the-radar entry, perhaps a little bit in Monochrome GT4. The first time we've seen an Audi R8 in the class. What a debut it's been. They were second yesterday. But today, Daniel Price and Blake Purdy will open their account in Monochrome GT4, and the Nippies Audi is on top on Sunday at the Island. Big win for that team, new to the championship. Great performance. Second will be Tom Heyman and Max Gagan, backing up their win yesterday. So it's 1-1 between those two. Audi won, McLaren won. They reversed their positions today. Ryland Gray across the line in third place with George Miedeke. Silver Am, GWR get one. Daniel Frugas and Tim Berryman will win the class. That's a good result for them. And Jacob Lawrence is going to go back-to-back. Tommy, here he is in the Am class, a win yesterday. The 32 car, and that will be a victory, and it will be a 1-2 for Randall Racing because Jamie Augustine is going to cross the line in second position. There he is.
Close battles between all the three categories. It was down to less than a second and a half between the winner of Silver Am and Am as well. So great for, like you said, the GWR Toyota Supra of Frugas and Berryman to get the win. No pit lane speeding today, no. So that seems to help when you stay within the 40 kilometres an hour.
That's a very good point you make. There were a lot of pit lane penalties yesterday, and for speeding, none today. So they all learnt overnight, which is good. And Motorsport Australia Race Control will be very pleased with that.
Great result as well for Tim Lay and Cody Bircher in that BMW. Fourth in the silver class. Fantastic for the whole team at Ash Seawood Motorsport. And Zoe Woods and Nash Morris. Jared Hughes and Summer Rintoul from the rear of the field up into position number 6. So great drive for those three as well.
Confirmation of the results. So Aaron Seaton backs up their race 1 win with Jason Gomersall with second. So it's the same story in Silver Am as it is in Silver outright. Manif and Rubis third in the Ginetta. That was a little under the radar performance. Great drive from Lockie Manif at the end. And after damage and that accident at turn 1, Cameron Crick and Dan Campbell end up 4th in class. 1-2 for Randall Racing in the BMWs. Jacob Lawrence on top. Jamie Augustine and Pete Lawrence in second place. Bailey Love was shown across the line in third, but has a 15-second time penalty coming his way as well. Highlights, Monochrome GT4 Australia, a sensational Sunday outing here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit, and a really good battle early on, but mid-pack there were dramas. The inside there, keep an eye on the Ford Mustang of Dean Campbell behind the wheel, spins, big contact with Glenn Nerwin in the tough lift McLaren, spins across to the outside of the road, and that brought out the BMW M safety car for the first time in this race. Wouldn't be the last though, but a highlight all the way through. It was great battling, not just throughout the field, but at the pointy end as well.
Absolutely, and Campbell was very lucky not to get away with more damage than that. And this was the battle for the outright lead. It was the do as he doesn't do, pit opposite strategy, which in the end helped Heyman get past Ryland Gray later in the race, the pass on track. But I'll tell you what, Blake Purdy, the 48 machine, the Audi GT4, they were unstoppable really. So this was Heyman exiting the pits, and the 777 car, unfortunately, of Chris Lillis had some contact with the number 3 of Ryder Quinn as we went green once again, and it was a bit of a sprint to the end, wasn't it, Kralsey?
It was a great fight. Ryland Gray leading the field, Blake Purdy chasing him. That was a move by Tom Heyman. Here we go. This is what happened. This was the battle for the lead. It was turn 11, the Mustang struggling to get in there, and that would turn out to be a little bit of a theme. So Blake Purdy took the race lead at that point. Tony Quinn off the road. Contact perhaps from the BMW. Jake Camilleri, really strong weekend for the Queenslander, ends there. And then almost rinse and repeat for Ryland Gray with the moment at the end. Checkered flag. Blake Purdy gets the win with Price for the Nippies Audi. Stubbsy.
Exactly right, Blake Purdy. That was an outstanding drive out there. Congratulations. The Audi R8, new to the category. You're new to the category. The team has come together. You must be thrilled.
Yeah, Price did an amazing job in the first stint and handed me the car like close to the lead, so I could just go for it. But yeah, like that was the most proud drive I've ever done. So yeah, I'm so happy.
And how much fun are you having in Monochrome GT4 with this massive field and such a mix of different cars with their own strengths and weaknesses?
Yeah, like it's so difficult trying to figure out like the strengths and weaknesses of every car. But yeah, I feel like we put it together today really well.
Blake, you guys might not have had a lot of headlines coming into this season, but you've made a real statement this weekend. Daniel, how much have you enjoyed this and the efforts of yourself and Blake?
Oh, seriously, like the team got put together quite early this year, so we haven't had much time in the car, but Yeah, it's pretty amazing what they've done in such a short period of time, and Blake is just, he can send it. It's so good.
He can send it, and now you can enjoy some celebrations. Well done to both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks to Stubbsy chatting to our winners in Monochrome GT4 Australia. So Blake Purdy and Daniel Price win the silver class. Daniel Frugas and Tim Berryman on top in silver AM. Jacob Lawrence, the winner in the AM class. What a race, what a weekend for Monochrome GT4 Australia. More after this.